Most wonderful things appear when we least expect them. They can be found in the most ordinary places, just waiting for someone to notice their true worth. This is a story about one such surprise, a small stone that held a great fortune within it. It is also a story about people, and how their choices can change their lives in an instant. It begins in a tiny village where the sun beat down on the dusty ground, and a hardworking man was simply trying to earn his daily bread. He did not know that his life, and the lives of others, were about to be touched by something truly extraordinary. In this quiet village lived a laborer. He was a simple man with simple needs. His days were spent digging soil under the hot sun, his hands rough and his back tired. He worked honestly and never complained. One afternoon, while his shovel hit the earth, he heard a strange sound. Clink. He stopped and dug carefully with his hands. There, nestled in the dark soil, was a stone. It was not like the other rocks he saw every day. This one sparkled and shone with an inner light, catching the sun's rays in a beautiful dance. He had never seen anything quite like it. The laborer picked up the shiny stone. He washed the dirt from its surface and held it in his palm. It felt smooth and cool. He did not know what it was. To him it was just a pretty glassy rock. He thought it was too lovely to just throw away. He had a donkey that helped him carry his tools and heavy loads every day. The man looked at his faithful animal and had an idea. He took a piece of old rope, tied the sparkling stone securely, and hung it around the donkey's neck like a bell. He smiled, thinking it made his dear donkey look quite special. And so, the laborer and his donkey continued their work. The priceless diamond, a treasure that could have changed the man's life forever, swung back and forth with each step the animal took. The laborer was happy with his small, decorative discovery. He did not understand its monetary value, but he found simple joy in its beauty. He saw a pretty stone, not a fortune. This simple act of ignorance set in motion a chain of events, passing the opportunity from one hand to the next, testing the wisdom and character of each person who saw it. As the day drew to a close, the laborer led his donkey through the village market. He needed to buy some groceries for his family. He stopped at the shop of a wealthy merchant, a man known for his sharp business sense. As the laborer was buying rice and lentils, the merchant's eyes fell upon the stone hanging from the donkey's neck. The sunlight streamed into the shop, making the stone glitter brightly. The merchant was not a jeweler, but he knew enough to see that this was no ordinary rock. He saw the potential for profit in that brilliant sparkle. The merchant, with a clever smile, called the laborer over. "My good man," he said in a friendly voice, "that is a very interesting stone on your donkey. Where did you find such a thing?" The laborer simply explained that he had dug it up from the ground. The merchant, hiding his excitement, made an offer. "It is just a piece of glass, but I like how it shines. I will give you 50 rupees for it." For the laborer, who earned very little in a day, 50 rupees was a good sum of money. He happily agreed, took the money and handed the stone to the merchant. The merchant was very pleased with his purchase. He felt he had made a very clever deal. He took the diamond and, not knowing its true immense value, decided to use it as a decoration in his shop. He had an old brass weighing scale that he used every day to measure grains and spices for his customers. He tied the diamond to the arm of the scale where it dangled and caught the light. He thought it made his shop look more prosperous and would surely impress his customers. The diamond was no longer on a donkey, but it was still not in its rightful place. For a while the diamond hung there, a silent witness to the daily business of the grocery shop. People came and went, buying their daily necessities, but no one paid much attention to the shiny object on the scale. They were too busy with their own lives to notice the fortune hanging right in front of them. The merchant felt proud of his 50-rupee bargain, believing he had outsmarted the simple laborer. He did not realize that he, too, had failed to understand the true magnitude of the opportunity that was now in his possession. He saw a profit, but not the treasure. One afternoon, a traveler stopped at the merchant's shop to buy some snacks. This man was no ordinary traveler. He was a jeweler from a big city, with a sharp eye for precious gems. As he waited for the merchant to pack his order, his gaze wandered around the shop and suddenly froze. He saw the stone hanging from the weighing scale. His heart skipped a beat. He immediately recognized it for what it was, a large, flawless, and incredibly valuable diamond. He could not believe his eyes. Finding such a gem in a small village grocery shop was like a dream. The jeweler tried hard to conceal his shock and excitement. He knew he had to be very careful. If the merchant discovered the stone's real value, the price would be impossibly high. He casually asked the merchant about the pretty stone. The merchant, feeling proud, explained that he had bought it from a laborer. "I will give you 100 rupees for it," the jeweler offered, trying to sound as nonchalant as possible. The merchant, seeing a chance to double his money so easily, was tempted. He had paid 50 and now he was being offered 100. To him, this was a fantastic deal. But the jeweler, despite being a rich man, was also very stingy. He knew the diamond was worth many thousands of rupees, perhaps even more. Yet the thought of paying the full asking price of 100 rupees bothered him. He decided to bargain, to be clever and save a little more. 100 is too much for a simple stone, the jeweler lied. "I will give you 80 rupees for it. That is my final offer." The merchant, however, was firm. He had said 100, and he felt that was a fair profit. He shook his head and refused the jeweler's offer. Thinking he was the smartest man in the room, the jeweler decided on a new plan. He would leave now and make the merchant wait. He was certain that no one else in this small village would recognize the diamond's value. He thought to himself, "I will come back tomorrow and offer him 90 rupees. He will be so eager to sell by then that he will surely agree. I will save 10 rupees and still walk away with a fortune." With this clever thought, the jeweler left the shop, convinced his strategy was foolproof, and that the magnificent diamond would be his the next day. Later that same evening, long after the first jeweler had left, fate brought another visitor to the village. A second jeweler, also from a large city, was passing through when his car suddenly broke down. While a local mechanic worked on the engine, the jeweler decided to walk into the village to pass the time. He happened to enter the very same grocery shop to buy a bottle of water. And just like the first jeweler, his expert eye was immediately drawn to the brilliant stone sparkling on the weighing scale. He was astounded by his good fortune. This second jeweler was a different kind of man. He was decisive and understood that opportunities like this were rare and fleeting. He did not waste a moment. He walked straight to the merchant and asked, "How much for that stone on your scale?" The merchant, remembering the earlier conversation, replied, 100 rupees. Without a single second of hesitation, the second jeweler reached into his pocket, pulled out a crisp 100 rupee note, and handed it to the merchant. The deal was done in an instant. He carefully took the diamond, his heart filled with joy, and left the shop. The next morning, the first jeweler returned to the shop, a confident smile on his face. He was ready to make his 90 rupee offer and claim his prize. He walked in and looked towards the weighing scale, but his smile vanished. The diamond was gone. In a panic, he asked the merchant where the stone was. The merchant calmly replied that he had sold it. "You fool!" the jeweler shouted in anger and frustration. "Do you have any idea what you have done? That was a priceless diamond worth a fortune. You sold it for a mere 100 rupees. The merchant listened patiently, and then he replied with a quiet wisdom that cut deeper than the jeweler's anger. "Sir," he said softly, "I may not have known the true value of the stone, but you did. You knew it was a priceless treasure, and yet you were not willing to pay my small price. You tried to save 20 rupees and lost a fortune because of it. I may be the one who sold it for too little, but you are the one who lost it forever. So tell me, who is the bigger fool?" The jeweler had no answer. He had been too clever, too stingy, and too slow, and his great opportunity was lost forever.